Hey, what's up? Today, I did an interview with Ben Hill, co-creator of the Time Police, and we're gonna talk about it a little bit. We're gonna dive in. We're gonna ask some questions. He's gonna answer some questions. We're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna have a little sippy poo of a drink. It's gonna be a good time. Anyway, we got more interviews coming your way with other creators that are local to me that I'm friends with that I think you should know because they make some cool stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So welcome to the Manny Draws channel. Now to the interview. Hope you enjoy. Here we are. We're here, dude. We're here. How do you feel?
Dude, I'm pumped. I'm excited.
Yeah?
Just getting to talk about comic books is amazing. That's why I can't tell you again just how much I'm so thankful to meet you and Kev and everybody else that is here in North Carolina, because people want to actually talk about this industry that you and I are so passionate about, and it just continues to fuel me. Every Wednesday, I look forward to Wednesdays, because usually it was wrestling, because I'm still a nerd. But now I look forward to Wednesdays because I'm like, we're going to talk about a comic book, and it's just awesome. So,
dude, yeah, it's a pleasure, man. It was cool getting to meet you it was a free comic day at Acme. It was the first time we met. You're helping us out, setting up stuff. And
I was there to do whatever the Acme crew told me to, and you guys were there with your awesome, renowned series.
Right.
So I was very sad more because I wanted to be out there talking to you guys about just like what you're doing and everything. Can I not stand here and watch people not shoplift?
Right.
Can I go out there and hang out?
I gotta hand out the bathroom key every once in a while and all that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or people would ask comic book questions like, I'm really interested in like this specific series of this specific comic. Where would I find that? I'm like, that's a fantastic question. Acme person, like, can you... I don't know.
I'm volunteering. I don't... I draw in my cave all day. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. But very rarely see the sunlight, so
right.
I don't know.
Same. I'm getting more white. It's bad. But anyway, we are here with Ben Hill, who is co-creator of the Time Police with James Solomon as a writer. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the Time Police. There's a Kickstarter going on right now. It's live. It's got how many days left? 20 something?
I think 25? We're 25 days 25. Left. Yes, right. 25.
Yep, says it right there with the...
And 75% complete. 75% funded.
That's
not complete. Cool. The whole thing is complete, so to speak.
It is complete, but we're getting funding, and it's 75% funded.
Yes.
Right now. And you can be a funder. You can fund this.
Do it.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Time Police, your process behind it, your dynamic with James and all this. So before we even dive into that, how did you and James meet each other? How did that begin?
So James and I, it was in my current workplace right now, which, being in Indiana, if you want to find like a company that's large enough for me to be able to work remote, you can probably kind of guess what company that is. But James came in around 2018 in a co-op role, and just you're coming in for some side work as a college student, and typically people are pretty timid. James has got a lot of confidence. He has more confidence than I can ever hope to have.
He does. I met him.
And
good confidence. Good confidence.
A lot of good confidence. But we just started talking and ended up finding out that we both really liked anime, and we liked sci-fi and all the different things that, tend to really lean towards somebody like myself who's been a lifelong comic book nerd.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you have the same thing, but as somebody that likes to draw comic books, I very rarely am ready to just say, oh, I draw comic books, like we should do something. So it was several months that went by before just kind of like, getting to know James as a person before I was just like, yeah, I mean, I do art. And then he's like, what kind of art? So that got us onto the whole, we like the same things. And James was one of those guys where it's easy to make fast friends. There are very few of those that I find, but if I make friends with somebody, it's very much like, come over, like let's hang out, let's watch something cool together. I mean, hopefully you don't mind my kids. My kids are really cool. But let's watch anime, let's talk comic books, let's watch a cool sci-fi movie. I've got, we've got plenty of food, we got plenty of beverages, whatever you want.
It's true.
Just want to hang out with somebody cool. And that's kind of what started it all. When we started talking about the Time Police, it was right before Disney launched Loki.
Oh, okay.
So
interesting.
He was, it's what is it? Just something was in the zeitgeist at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And here it was. We were talking about. I think something buddy cop would be funny, and it originally started as a podcast series with a third person, where we were trying to do something different and weird, trying to build a universe, and it just didn't work out the way we thought it would. James and I had a lot of goofy ideas, and it just didn't really fit the podcast thing for that current orientation. But we were like, there's something here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when 2018, 2019, I just started sketching ideas for the characters, ideas for the setting, the vehicles, cribbed a lot of things from stuff that I enjoyed. And by 2019, we had a pretty good fleshed out idea about people patrolling the time stream and everything like that. And then Loki came out and talking about like the time variance and preserving the time stream and everything. And I'm like, well, okay, but maybe we use this as inference that now people have a baseline understanding of what it is. So that's,
I get you,
basic origins.
That's awesome. And like, were you and James just pitching ideas like back and forth, and just like, was he writing stuff out, or was he like more like an architect? He had like a blueprint kind of thing, and was like, let's go with this, or were you guys kind of more on like equal playing field, like let's do this, oh yeah, we can do that, and then we can do this thing, and then what is that like? What's the working relationship kind of like with that, making the script and stuff?
It's funny because the way you talk about you and Kev collaborating on projects really feels like the kind of collaboration that James and I have, because it is a lot of bouncing ideas off of one another.
Yeah,
like, I think this would be cool, dude, that would be awesome. But what if we tweaked like this small thing? And you're like, oh my gosh. So you just sit there and kind of blow each other's minds, and just the yes and thing that you always hear comedy people talk about.
Right.
So that is the part of the process that I really enjoy. Is James is very much a collaborator. We sat down and talked through 7 different what we called arcs.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew we're going to start here. We want to explore this area. So that's arc 1. Arc 1's going to take us into the next area, then the next, and the next. And the arcs we can consolidate into like concise stories. So we have a beginning and an end with kind of an interlude into the next arc. So that's been the really cool creative part, and something that we often are like, hey, we need to touch back on this and just see how our storytelling's going. with our first issue coming out, that is a piece of arc 1. But we have a couple more stories that we need to tell to really flesh out that before we can say, okay, we've completed this full arc, and can move on. But the just the characters, the designs, things like that, we wanted to be very self-referential. It's easy to write what you know.
Yeah.
So I was telling James, I'm like, dude, what's easier to know than like the two of us? You just ask, like, what do we think is funny? How do we want to portray each other? It also comes down to, it's very wrestling with the way that our characters are, where you just take your own personality and dial it up to 100. Yeah. Yeah. Crank it up.
Very much so.
So that was easy. The fun part that I wanted to draw bad guys that were all hidden, that had some ulterior motive, that had a backstory that we would dive into before you really reveal who they are.
Yeah.
So each one of the villains is kind of a surprise wrapped in a surprise. And it's all through, as you know, obfuscation. If you can just throw layers on top of something or shadows and really hide what somebody is or who somebody is, then it just makes a better reveal later on.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of our bad guys, and I'm so excited because Arc 1, we've just shown one of our bad guys in Arc 1, and there's a whole, like, we call them a council. There's a whole council of bad guys. So.
Oh, dude. Heck yeah.
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I'm also really bad about keeping secrets, so I'll do my best to do that.
Yeah, don't spoil. Don't spoil, dude. I'm gonna have to edit it out, man. Don't do that.
I know. I want to add more work to you.
That's awesome, because it's the cloak, like with the yellow trimming and stuff.
Yes. That
character design. When I was drawing that for the variant, I was like, I know why Ben draws this character now. It's pretty fun. This is a pretty fun character.
It's so much fun. I wanted to have just layers in this cloak, and then underneath there's a whole nother gear set.
There's definitely layers to it with like the little knife holster thing in there and stuff. Like, that's cool. God. You could like slightly see it in some panels or whatever, but you sending me that character turnaround I was like, oh. All right.
It's so much fun. And there's a whole backstory. This is where I get into, I just don't think I'm good. That's the number one problem. But I think that's an issue with all creatives, no matter who you are. Like, you're either 100% like, I'm the best in the world, or you're 100% like, I don't know why I do this or why I pursue this, because I'm not really good at it. And I'm definitely on the polar side, where it's like, I don't know, I just do this because I think it's fun. But that character, the character you're referencing, the hooded one with the mask, we call Panda.
Okay.
And as James and I were talking about, this just shows the collaboration side.
Yeah.
He has this entire universe that he is building through his outlines, his dialogues, his creative building from the writing perspective. Mm-hmm. And this one character, I was just like, oh my gosh, I have it in my head. I know exactly what I want to say about this specific character. So I just need X amount of pages to essentially do the origin, to do the background of who this character is, because I feel like this just lands so well to give that character what they need going forward. So and James again was just like, sure, yeah, whatever, you got it. Like, this is no problem.
Dude, yeah.
Right? And I was just like, dude, I'll write it, you can look at it, vet it, make sure that I'm not doing anything too weird. But just from that creative perspective, it just, there's so much freedom. I don't have to just be the person putting lines on a page. I can sit there and contribute as well.
Nice. That's a good collaboration right there. Just like spitballing ideas and like, let's advance that. Let's go for it, dude. If you got a crazy idea, just run with it. That's always fun. That's always fun. But like, going through the Time Police, there's also the color palette of blue, yellow, gray tones, line art, and white and black. You know, what is the inspiration behind that? What is you setting that limit to it? And it helps with like the design, the logo, and stuff too. It really makes it pop. But I'm curious as to why you went that route.
Well, so yeah, the limited color palette was something that is definitely an homage to Daniel Warren Johnson and his work when he was self-publishing and putting out his web pages just to get something out there in a book called Space Mullet. I know we've talked about this, so I appreciate the question because it just allows us to gush over Daniel
just a little bit,
and all his amazingness. But yeah, Space Mullet was the direct reason for that limited palette. Number one, I knew we all have obligations. We all have things going on outside of the house. So it just would allow me to not have to worry about taking the page from pencils to inks to tones to full color. Because limited color, I can cut that work in half or in a quarter of the time of what it would take me to do full color.
Yeah, dude, doing the you're the variant for Time Police of just thinking about it, I was like, I could go full color, but it's also like I want to also be to the source material. I want to be true to the source material. So like doing it that way and then just being like, dang, I should do this with more projects. Like it really does cut it down. So
yeah, you've got some really awesome projects on the line, and I would think that there could be some potential for that in some of the things you're doing right now. So and you brought up the logo. I mean, I would love to take credit for the logo, but I reached out to a fellow graphic designer. His name is David Becker from Indiana, and David was the one that he just had this entire vision, and I was just like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what the universe is about. This is kind of the broad details of the story. Come up with something, and like he knocked it out of the park. I love just the way that it feels. To me, it feels very true to what a comic book logo should be. And I know the only thing, I mean, I asked him for a logo. I've got a stacked version of it. Something that James and I have talked about. We're just like, maybe we need to make a horizontal looking one. So that, but the actual vision for the logo itself was all Dave.
Oh, nice.
Did an awesome job.
Dude, yeah. I mean, our Mouth Breathers logo was made by one of my best friends, Justin Yang, and he put that together a long time ago. So, I mean,
that logo's solid too.
When you know somebody, you know what
I mean? When you know talented people, like why not let them do what they do best? So.
Yeah, he knocked it out of the park. So that's awesome. That's fun. But like this Time Police, would you describe it as like an all ages book? All ages kind of story, or?
I mean, I'm gonna say probably 13 plus.
13.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, we steer clear of like a ton of gore and violence and everything like that. There's no drug use unless you count caffeine as a drug.
Liar. No.
Right. They're police officers. They gotta drink coffee.
Yeah.
Just wait until we get into the universal donut. Right? We gotta have their Time Police. They have to have like the best donuts in all of time. So.
Dude, that's okay. I'm ready for that one. That's awesome.
So, but I would say it is an all ages book. It just really depends on your threshold for what you consider inappropriate language.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we say hell and damn and things like that.
Yeah.
Anything that's more aggressive than that, we definitely try to bleep out because I've got kids. I want them to be able to read it. I have nieces. I want them to be able to read it. It's funny that I say all that, and it's a very male-dominated book at the moment, but we're getting there. We will add more diversity to the book as things roll along.
Awesome. Yeah, I just imagine because, you know, you have kids and stuff, and I'm like, I'm sure he's like, they're probably conscious about that. And oh, there's the dog. You know,
Yeah.
and then you put your daughter in the background. I'm pretty sure, right? In the archives.
Both of the girls are in the
Both of the
background.
girls. Okay.
I keep talking to my oldest because she's very creative,
Uh-huh.
and I think it would be very fun to do kind of a Sunday morning cartoon strip type thing where she could draw it and do the adventures of like her characters in the time police facility. So we'll see if anything comes of that. But
Yeah.
just one of those things where she's showing an interest and I'm like, yeah, let's do something. Like let's be creative. This will be so much fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're in it. It's not so Time Police is the first I would consider this like a real comic book. It feels like a comic, it looks like a comic. I did something prior to this that was in my late 20s, so it's been a few years ago. Um, the writing was great.
Mm-hmm.
My art was just not. I I keep it's one of those books, and you may resonate with this. It's one of those books where I look at it, I'm like, I would redraw this entire thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can make it so much better than it is. So I've done one full issue prior to this, and the book is called Noel: The Season of Fall, and it kind of included the main character and the whole premise of what it is, where it follows the character Noel,
Mm-hmm.
and she falls through a rip in time and has to
Oh.
find a way to get back to save a friend of hers. And in that book, it not only includes my oldest, but also my youngest daughter's name. Little did I know that that was the name we were going to give my youngest at the time, but the other character that's in the book, that's the one she's trying to rescue, is my youngest daughter. So it's kind of fitting. Very small print run. I think we only did like 50 prints of the book or something like that at the time.
That's awesome. So. This was back when you're in your, well, like 28, 29 or something, like when you did it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, people go search for that one.
Probably the only place you'll find it is if you like gain access to my house and look in my file cabinet. I think that's probably the only.
Dude, I got a full stack of like my first Western that I did. So yeah, I
that's awesome.
I got like 50 left. So, you know, if you want one, you let me know.
Yes. Just tell me the price.
Okay. It's called free. I want it out of my house.
Oh, I mean, there's that.
Get out of here.
How about I buy you a beer? There you go.
All right, I'll take a beer. So diving into your tools, your workflow with your tools when you're setting up this stuff. So, well, you get the script, get the idea from James, and then you maybe like tweak something, have an idea that you pitch to him and run with it. What is it when you have that script, when you have the written material down? What's the next step? Do you do thumbnails? Do you just attack the page immediately? What do you do?
Dude, you know, we are of the same mind when it comes to this. Yeah. It is just thumbnail. And I remember the first book I did, my thumbnails were on 8.5 by 11s. So not even technically thumbnails. I was essentially doing.
You're like, I got an idea.
Let me do the whole thing. But now with Time Police, with the anthology that we're working on, like all those are legit just thumbnails that I've broken out and started to work on pacing on. And then from the thumbnail stage, it will move to roughs. I did all my roughs and I did all the inks on full Bristol board when I first started Time Police. There are 8 pages that I did full Bristol. Yeah. It just took forever. And at the time I was moving and everything and just was talking to, you know, talking more to my family and more to James about, dude, I need something to just let me just make progress. So I moved to digital and started using Procreate for everything. Had to learn the Procreate program. Had to learn how to modify my brushes to get something that felt very natural.
Yeah.
Because there's a full distillate. There's such a difference between doing something on paper and doing something on screen. That it's felt so much more natural because I believe we had a conversation around the winter of last year where there's actual screen coverings that are paper textured, which dude, that was so cool. I absolutely love this thing that I have on here now. Where I'm like, this makes it feel a little bit more like what I do, in my physical side. So, but the original way, it was Bristol board. It was Pentel brush pens. We had the conversation about ink. I do use India ink, so I probably should change that up a little bit just for some versatility and some longevity for the amount so it doesn't dry out and I don't run into issues there.
Right.
I have a couple of microns, not within reach, but I also use the Master's Touch stuff that you can get just at Hobby Lobby. So microns, Master's Touch, these whiteout gel pens for very minute detail.
Oh yeah, those are great.
These things are super nice. The jelly rolls, and then if I need big blocks, then it's just the fat whiteout markers that allow things to go on. I'm honestly looking at probably changing any of the massive whiteout stuff to the Posca, like the white Poscas. Those seem to be nice and actually provide some kind of texture that, and a more true white than what I get out of the whiteout touch-up stuff. So
yeah, I gotta write that down. That's interesting. I haven't tried with that. So I just like every time I'm using whiteout, like the deleter whiteout, there's like a gray, like you can still see it. I'm just like, I just go white.
Yeah, I get the same thing. There's some of these, and I keep looking around my desk to see if I've got it handy. Like it almost leaves a beige to it when I'm putting it on the Bristol board. The whiteout marker leaves like this beige, and I agree. I'm like, great. So now if I scan this and have to touch it up, now I have to worry about color balance and whether that's going to look all right once it's scanned in. So
that's so weird because then you got to mess with it in Photoshop. It's a whole thing. It's a whole deal.
I found the two things that I've used Poscas on. It's not as much of a challenge. So may look into that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Just remind me after this. So, keeping it fresh for you, like your creative process, the keeping, I guess, like that fire to make stuff. Do you just watch TV? Like, say you're getting down in a rut, or like you're kind of losing it a little bit, working on Time Police or working on other projects. Do you just spend time with family, go out for a walk? Like, what's your way to get that fire back to back to the drafting table?
That it's so funny. I mean, you brought up everything that I would say no to.
No.
Right now, it is just diving into comic books that I've never read before, comic books that are my favorite.
Yeah.
The stuff that you and Kevin and I are doing on Wednesdays, talking about these, consolidated works of just amazing comic book storytelling, are one of the things that's definitely kept me fired up.
Yeah.
I will also turn it around and say it's because of you. It's because of Kev. It's because of just the amount of creative talent that exists in North Carolina. There's so many that I look at and I'm like, wow, they're doing amazing things. And I just want to be a part of it. So that is what keeps me passionate. It keeps me moving. Um, I mean, so going back to what we're working on with the anthology, being a Western, um, diving into something like Pulp by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, like those, it blew my mind and gave me a whole new perspective on just the Western genre, Western and crime noir. I mean, how the heck do you tie those two together?
Just combo of both. It's awesome.
It's amazing. But yeah, as far as like new shows, I used to watch, all the new stuff on Netflix, all the new stuff on Crunchyroll, because I am an anime geek as well. I had to watch my wrestling on Wednesdays, but all that has kind of taken a back seat, and it's kind of filled in where I can get it. And now it's just solely focused on stuff that it's like I love visual storytelling, so I'm just going to keep focused on what that is to keep me passionate. I take breaks because I have to make sure that I still spend time with the family.
Yeah.
And thankfully, they're very understanding. I'll sit down and do live streams with my oldest, so we'll both be on camera, drawing together, doing something creative and fun.
Awesome. Yeah.
She is very visually talented. And then the youngest is the one that's like, come on, you're not that old. Come out here and run around the yard with me, and act like you're 20 years younger than you are.
Right.
So it's a good balance. They're awesome. They keep me grounded.
That's awesome. So like, speaking of family and like drawing at the same time, like, how do you keep that balance? There's a lot of people that like, I've heard stories of, people like neglect their family or whatever, you know what I mean? But like, you seem to have it pretty good. You love your kids, you spend time with them, you draw books or releasing a Kickstarter, you're working on this anthology with us. You're able to live a little bit. So how do you make time for all that?
I have an incredible wife.
Oh, well, that'll help.
So, yeah. She keeps us all together. I mean, she really does. And she understands that this is something I'm very passionate about. She has her own passions as well. She is a very gifted woodworker, in my opinion. And so we try to find a good balance to where she can also go out and enjoy her passions while I'm doing this. And it tends to fall out it tends to not fall out. It tends to even out where, I get done working and then it is family time for at least the next 3 or 4 hours until the girls are ready for bed. And then it is, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I get 2 to 3 hours of drawing in every night.
That's pretty
along
good.
Along with whatever I can get throughout the day. If I'm squeezing something in at lunch, if the girls are just taking it easy, then I'll just sit there and doodle, or do roughs or something like that, while we're hanging out after work. So it just kind of play it by ear, but it's one of those things where your kids are only going to be young once, so you got to enjoy it while you can. And again, I'm just very lucky that I have girls that do like to draw. So there are times where I'm just like, hey, why don't we sit down and draw something? And they, more often than not, are saying, yeah, let's do it. So
that's awesome. What an easy win right there. My brother-in-law sent me a photo of my niece, and she was they were just like, she takes after her favorite uncle, and then takes a picture, and she's drawing while they're at a restaurant. And I was just like, yes.
That's awesome. Doesn't it feel great?
Yeah,
it feels so good.
Yep. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. So I can only imagine having little yous just like, yeah, let's draw together. Yeah,
let's do it. Like, well, yeah. And it was one of those things too, where when they first started, they're like, can I use your pens? Can I use your markers? And I'm like,
yeah,
sure. And it's like, you know what? Here's your own set. Here's your own, like, here, whatever you want. Wait, let's go to the store together and let's pick out stuff. And that way you can say you have your own.
That's
so
precious. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So would you say, you know, like family's pretty important? Like, how would, if someone beginning their journey on this thing of trying to make their own comic, trying to get it out there, and they got other responsibilities, you know, maybe they got kids, maybe, you know, they're taking care of their parents, whatever it is, struggling paying bills. I don't know. Everyone's got their own thing. What's the sort of advice would you give this person? You know, would there be anything, any little small thing just to help them out?
Yeah. Dude, I know you have answered this so much better than I think I will, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Number one, do what you're passionate about, whatever that focus is. Like, you have to maintain some kind of passion for what you're doing, or you'll just stop.
Right.
So if you are drawing like characters from your favorite comic book, go draw characters from your favorite comic book. Like, the best way to improve your skill is to continue working on your skills. And you can't do it if you're not putting pencil or pen or marker or paint on paper or canvas or whatever medium you're working on. If you're not doing it, you're not building on the skills that you already have.
Right.
And the one thing that I think you and I hear most about is people really getting hung up on, I want this to be perfect.
Right.
Like, it has to be the best, or I just don't feel comfortable putting it out there. And, you know, something that I've heard for quite a while now is just focus on progress over perfection.
Yep.
Eventually, things will become perfect as long as you continue to make progress. And that's something that I found myself. I mean, there are a lot of things that when I first, just within the past 2 years, when I first came over to North Carolina, I was showing some local people my stuff, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. This is what I do. I draw comic book characters and, you know, just like this. And then recently sat down and started showing some of those same people that I knew 2 years ago some of my current stuff, and I'm like, wow, I can see how much you've grown. And I think a lot of it is just, number one, you have to be consistent. You have to do it. Whenever, like, just make time to do it. Focus on something that you like. You know, sit down. Dude, I have so much goofy stuff. Like, I've got, look at that. I've got Ken from Street Fighter. And I bought it because I was like, you know what? Number one, it's my favorite Street Fighter character. Number two, I'm going to use this as reference. Like, I'm going to use this to, like, draw muscles, pose, everything like that. If I move, you'll see all the other goofy figures and things like I have in the background on the shelf.
Yeah.
And the only reason that I buy those is to make sure that I draw something from it. If I'm not going to draw something from it, it's not going to be purchased. So saves me money.
Wow, that's a good rule to have, actually.
Right. Or I get a drawing out of it, so I get practice.
Right.
But that was something that kind of came as a rule later on in life. I would just, you know, spend money on toys and things because I thought they were cool. Now it's like there's a purpose to it.
Right.
So draw things that you love or like. And then just progress. Just continue to do it. You're going to feel that itch. You're going to feel that burnout. And let yourself feel those things. So if you find the itch, follow it. Do something.
Yeah.
And if you start to feel that burnout, it's okay. Like, it is healthy to take breaks. Don't feel like you're giving up. Don't feel like you can't do it anymore. That's just not the case. The case is sometimes You reach a peak, respect it, level set, and come back to it.
Yeah. I mean, I have my like mentor friend Steven Zapata, who would describe art as like a friend that you can keep coming back to. So it's just,
Yeah.
you don't talk to your buddy for years, and then you just call him up, be like, "Hey man, what's up? How you doing?" And it's just like, no, it was yesterday you last talked, is what it feels like. You know what I mean? Then you go get a beer, and you're just like, catch up. That's what art is. You're just like, oh, I haven't drawn in like a few months, and then I come back to it. I'm like, this is fun. I missed you.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great way of seeing it, because it's one of those things where like, oh, we haven't hung out in forever. It's not going to be a big deal if we don't hang out. It's like, dude, just hang out.
Yeah,
Just hang out with a piece of paper and a pencil, and just see
yeah.
what happens. I
It's like
mean,
when I don't feel like drawing some days, which it happens a lot actually throughout the week.
that's surprising. You're very what was the word I was using? The prolific, and the amount of time you spend drawing, and you do it the traditional way. You're
Yeah.
sitting there, you may do your digital layouts, but then it's traditional inks, everything, and then scan it back in and do all your halftones. And um, so it's surprising for me to hear that even you have to say like, oh yeah, I need to take a break, or I need
Yeah.
to sit down and sketch something.
Yeah. It's like when I get to that wall, that's like I don't want to do anything. I just want to be a couch potato. Some days I do it, but I only allow like one day out of the week. On those other days, it's like if I really don't want to draw, I'm like, all right, let me just do a line. You know, if I do the goal of putting a line down that I've drawn today,
Yes.
but then you start just like, I'm already here, so I'll just keep drawing. It's fine. And then next thing you know, a panel's done, and you're like, all right, cool, I'll do another one. You
Made
know?
progress,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Progress. And as long as like, because I know some people get into that mentality of like, oh well, I'll save like this Saturday. This Saturday will be my 10-hour drawing day, when they like don't do long drawing times, and then they do
Yeah.
that, and then they burn themselves out in one day. It's just like, how about you? Let's grow it
Right.
for a bit. Because like when I was younger, I didn't draw like for long periods of time. It'd be like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. And then once I'm like getting into concept art, once I'm getting into comics and stuff, and then it started growing a little bit, you know. And then those slowly over time, I was like, I need to study. I need to do this, right? And then those study sessions grew for hours over every single day of doing it. It would go from 30 minutes a day to 2 hours to four and then it went to a whole summer of just doing 8-hour days of drawing. So it's just like you got to slowly build that up, you know. It's like talking to students like that. It's just like let's not just go for 10-hour days immediately. Let's warm up. Let's get to it. So, and then like then you're gonna be consistent. Then you're not gonna feel then you're gonna feel guilty for not drawing on one day.
Yeah, exactly. What did I do with my day? I
Yeah,
didn't
that's
even
what I
put a
do.
didn't even put a line on a piece of paper.
Yeah, I was like, well, why did I do that? I didn't draw today. Uh,
Well, it's so interesting that you bring that up, because I think a lot of times, like, I'll be talking with my oldest,
yeah,
and she's like, I don't know what to draw. It's like, just start with a figure. Just start with an object. Just start with something. And if it works out, great. If it didn't, there's tomorrow.
yeah,
Like, it's no big deal.
yeah,
So
exactly. Just putting the mileage down on the paper. I mean,
yeah,
you're gonna grow. If you try and get 1% better every day, you know, after 100 days, you'll be a lot better.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, that's great. And like, so you're doing Time Police with James, and now switching gears a little bit, working on the anthology. How is that workflow like for you? Like transitioning from having a partner to just like, okay, let me do my own thing. Let me try and do this little mini comic here. How is that for
Uh,
you?
it's different.
Yeah.
So we we recently talked about Chris Samney in a book called Jonah and the Impossible Monsters, and the book is
beautiful,
co-written by an artist, Chris, and his wife.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, it definitely has a different pacing than most books. Most books that have a writer and artist duo, there's a feeling like, yes, there's a lot of detail and things that are written that are there for you to take in. They're there for you to absorb, so you understand how things are really nestled. And from an artistic perspective, some things you can just infer.
Yeah.
So I think that was the one thing I found really interesting about just taking on the writing myself. There's a lot of things that I felt like, we are in a Western. There's a lot of stuff from the, United States from a cultural perspective when it comes to Western storytelling that I can just dive in.
Yeah.
Anybody that's going to read this is going to have some, either old spaghetti westerns or, old cowboys and Indian movies that they can relate to. And so I don't have to sit here and spell out each and everything. And that allowed me to just set the pacing myself. I built it where I knew my beginning, middle, and end. It's like I wanted the character to show up in this town just like you would any spaghetti western. They roll into town, you don't know who the character is, you don't know the town, but you're going to find that out pretty quick.
Yeah.
The middle was going to be some kind of storytelling device to really give some depth and background to the character. And then the end was going to be my kind of emotional twist on everything to hopefully, if I didn't get you with all the cool stuff in action, maybe I get you with like an emotional moment at the end. And I don't think that's a normal writer's approach to things. They think through things a lot more methodically, where I was just like, nope, big dumb brain. I want really simple concepts all the way through.
Yeah.
And thankfully, like when I did fully flesh out the script and I had my dialogue and I had things that I feel like this is the right pacing, this is the right wording for everything, the way I want people to communicate, then I leaned on Kev, who is a writer, to just say, is this right? Is there something I'm missing? Am I pushing on something too hard? Am I not pushing on something hard enough? What can I do to just shape it up, cut the loose fat, and just make it a real tight script? So it was a lot more freedom to be able to just set the stage and tell something beginning to end. But then again, I kind of feel like I have that with just the creative process between James and I. If there's ever something that I'm like, I kind of want to do this, then that conversation is open.
Yeah.
So the only thing that was different was I was having that conversation with myself.
Yeah. Right.
So I was hoping my wife was too distracted by like, no, that's stupid. Why would you do that? Talking to myself while I'm trying to write this thing.
Just watching Ben just write a script, just like, no, don't do that. You could though. It would be really cool. It would be really cool, but do you need
it? Stupid.
Yeah. Oh, just start pulling your hair. Oh,
right.
Man. But it's a lot of fun seeing that thing unfold. I mean, I know no one's gonna know what it is right now, but soon in the future they shall. So I'm excited to get that released, and having your helping hand with some graphic design elements on the book as well is definitely, thank God.
I hope it's helpful. I hope I'm not holding us back.
No, not at all. But dude, I think that's all I got for you right now. I mean, been going at this for a lot longer than I thought. But let's tell the people where they can find your stuff, and where to find this Kickstarter, or where to find this Kickstarter is on Kickstarter. But go ahead, pitch your stuff, dude.
Right. Dude, Well, if the Kickstarter is still going, then
Yeah.
go out and look at the Time Police. Just search those words on Kickstarter, and you'll go right to the campaign. It's the only one that's out there at the time with those types of words in it. So hopefully that will remain consistent for the next 25 days. And then you can go follow at _Time Police on Instagram. You can find us on Webtoons. We post a panel view on Instagram. So if you want to see kind of step by step through each of the pages, we're trying to break that out visually. If you want to see the full page in all of its glory that you can read to and zoom in so you can tell the story yourself and I don't have to sit there and hold your hand and be like, look at this panel, then you can go find that on Webtoons. My personal Instagram is Ben_Hill_art on Instagram. Someone told me I need to make a Linktree, so there is a Linktree out there for Ben_Hill_art. It'll take you to all of our stuff, so you can go check that out. We even have a Redbubble store for Time Police, so if you want to go buy weird random things with the Time Police characters on it, like a coffee mug, because police drink coffee, and the Time Police are no different. Ours just also has our I Heart Justice on the mug because the Time Police love justice.
Yeah, they do.
So,
yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, that's so good.
But yeah, go out there. Make sure if you're doing the Kickstarter, go get the Manny tier. Go get the Manny variant.
That's right. That's right. I did one.
Badass.
And get Ben's. Okay. And,
Yeah.
Is it Siler? Is Siler the other one?
And Siler.
Siler.
Oh my god.
Yes. Yes.
Both of you guys. Your covers are so much better than mine. I'm like, I just need to redo my cover now.
Come on.
Mine needs to be on par.
No way. No way, dude. It's a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in, sticking around. More exciting stuff to come soon. Go check out Ben Hill's stuff. Cool guy making cool things. So appreciate you, Ben. Thanks for showing up and doing this talk.
Thanks, Manny. You're the best.